Hello, everybody. This is Noah and John, and we are with UrbanDigs. And Johnny, today we are talking Manhattan, and we got a good one. Second time on. It's been about 6 years since the pandemic. Big time. Nadia Bartolucci over at Douglas Elliman. Almost a billion, John, $1
With
billion
a
with a B in
with a
sales.
B.
Number one sales team in Brooklyn. Top 10 teams
Yeah,
company wide at Elliman across the nation. Wall Street Journal, top 250 teams, top 1% sale. I can just read on the awards that Nadia has earned, and we got her. We got her for
I
about
know.
15, 20
And the
minutes.
thing is, the show is called Talking Manhattan, but we're going to be talking a lot about the B's, either billion in sales or the
Brooklyn.
B for Brooklyn. So,
Yes.
FYI.
Yes. It's going to be fun, and we're going to get going. And first, I want to say, Nadia, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here today. Welcome. And I'm going to ask you flat out to tell us what's happening in the New York City real estate market today.
Noah and John, thank you so much again for having me back. It's good to be here. And I'm going to jump right in as well. And we will discuss the Brooklyn luxury market, which I would say at this point parallels Manhattan. The Brooklyn luxury market is no longer an alternative, it is a destination. We are seeing people relocating from Upper West Side, Tribeca, West Village. Everyone is seeking more space and a more calm alternative to Manhattan. And the rental pool, excuse me, is also in a big deficit of inventory right now. Every rental that I've put on the market is going through a bidding war. I put a rental on the other day in prime Cobble Hill for $7,900, and the highest offer we got was $9,000.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I had backup offers. So,
How big,
we are,
I'm curious, how big was that rental? How many bedrooms was that one? Don't
it
tell me it
was
was a
a
studio.
it was a 900 square foot two bed and office.
Oh, my Lord. I mean, I'm
Okay.
hearing this kind of a
Okay.
thing. I don't want to interrupt
Hmm.
you. I know you want to talk about the
Please.
state of the market. I'm
Yeah,
hearing this rental story in Manhattan as well. You're
I am
confirming it's
too.
happening in Brooklyn. I mean, is it getting to the point where renters are saying, you know what, maybe I should consider start buying? Is a rental exhaustion kind of kicking in yet or not yet?
The rental fatigue is real. And what is happening is people are desperate to sign 2-year leases with, to your point, the intention of buying at some point. But because we also have such an inventory deficit for buying, people are bound to their rentals and they want to be sure that their rental price is not going to increase. So we're seeing a lot of that. As far as buying, rates are still high, as we know, and there is a lack of inventory. But people are, when they can, trying to bridge in and purchase. And, what I'm seeing now is people at one point were trying to purchase the largest asset they could. And right now it's about what's available and just getting in and owning something. And then 5 to 7 from years now, evaluating their next move. So it's very different than just kind of, going in, getting something big and staying there for a long time. People are just desperate to own at this point. They want to plant their roots in Brooklyn. They love the community. They love that it's a notch down from Manhattan, but Manhattan is still, 30 to 40 minutes away, on the train. But the quality of life out in Brooklyn, especially post COVID, is what people are desiring. The green spaces, being able to walk on the promenade, all of these, restaurants and cafes, there's all these it destinations now. Like the restaurant scene in Brooklyn is, more hopping than Manhattan these days. And that's what I'm hearing
It's
continuously.
really it's been an amazing transformation, and I
Hmm.
completely agree with you. And you think back to maybe 30 years ago, if you want to say you made it in Manhattan, and I say this a lot, but you've had a membership at like the Metropolitan Museum or the Opera or the Philharmonic, whatever it might be, and now it's kind of like, well, I'm at BAM, or I'm going to a
Yes,
promenade, I'm going to St. Anne's Warehouse, whatever it might be. But it's really been an
exactly.
amazing transformation, and I do have a question in mind, and
Yeah.
that's sort of part of that transformation has evolved along the waterfront. You can watch what happened in Williamsburg up into
Yes.
Greenpoint, and obviously
Yes.
those are some of the larger new developments. But I'm wondering
Hmm.
how you break out that new development market in Brooklyn, especially with some of the bigger ones, and then there's a lot of the small ones. What does that inventory market look like compared to resale in Brooklyn these days?
Yeah, no, it's a really, really great question. I would say that the larger scale new development, talking about buildings that are, 25 units and up, there are definitely a handful of concessions that need to be negotiated into those deals, and that supply of inventory tends to stay on the market a little bit longer. The most sought after new development is something that I currently specialize in, and it's the boutique product that's 5 units and under, because it's people that want to stay in these smaller, intimate environments, do not want high monthlies, and want to try to be on those bucolic brownstone blocks. When you get the development that's on, the Williamsburg waterfront, Greenpoint waterfront, it's great. Those are amenity destination buildings, but then you still have to walk to get into the neighborhood proper. So I find those buyers as, different. And the boutique buyer, is very specific in that they want to integrate in the community, be on the blocks, be able to, walk to the park, walk their children, to school, see neighbors, on, similar brownstone blocks, and there is community in the larger buildings as well, but it's a little bit different. I don't want to say the word it's isolated, but generally people tend to stay in those buildings. The community activities are within those buildings. And when you're in these smaller developments, you're integrating yourself more in the neighborhood proper.
Gotcha. I do have a quick follow-up there. You mentioned concessions, and I'm wondering, given the complete lack of decent inventory in Brooklyn, this is one of the things we've been talking about for the last year, is just that inventory has been super stagnant. You mentioned concessions, and I'm wondering, are you seeing concessions even in this really tight market? And if so, what do they look like? What should buyers be asking for if they are existing?
No, it's a really great question. I would say when you look at the larger scale development, with buildings that, are still eager to move inventory, definitely, the transfer taxes are on the table, sponsor attorney fees on the table. When you get into the smaller boutique development, I am, in a position where, I am not having to negotiate transfer taxes. Sometimes we will do some modifications within the apartment, very minimal. Maybe we'll do a paint schedule. Maybe we'll do a closet build out for somebody, but I'm not having to really push on transfer taxes, which is the bigger cost. Mansion doesn't even come into the picture, which is interesting because I also am servicing a small development on the Upper West Side, and I'm in the middle of a negotiation. In the first round of negotiation on that product, that buyer's broker asked for, points off, the loan, mansion, this and that, the kitchen sink, like everything. And I haven't seen that in Brooklyn, in a very, very long time. In the past 8 years, even before COVID, I haven't seen it in a long time.
Interesting. So is it safe? Manhattan doesn't seem to have a lot of permits and new activity and pipeline and new developments. Does Brooklyn? Is there a pipeline there? Is there a lot of stuff being built, or is it as tight as I think Manhattan is?
I mean, it's definitely tight, with the handful of developers that, I'm lucky enough to work with, I can see my 5-year outlook. I know what we're building. I know that there will be inventory, but is it coming on with the supply and demand being equal? Absolutely not. The demand is still much higher than, the supply that we need. And that's just how it's always, going to be in Brooklyn, unless people want to start expanding. Like I'm starting to see more development down in Greenwood, South Slope, for example. So people that can't afford, Prime Park Slope, Carroll Gardens, they're starting to push, down, to the south a little bit more, just that way they can stay in Brooklyn.
Gotcha. This is, we could talk hours.
I know.
We're not even past the first question yet, Johnny.
I know.
All right, wait, for sake of time, let's move on. I'm going to move on to my next question. This is the pricing question. This is more of a method process. We like to educate. We look at ourselves as an independent intelligence company on the pricing and the market side. I want to talk about the pricing intelligence side. How do you approach pricing? I know you do a lot of new developments and sponsor kind of pricing. And secondarily, what happens if that seller just happens to be, a little aspirational?
Aspirational. We'll be polite. We'll call it aspirational.
Right.
I would say, there's two different, schools of thought here. When you're representing, an independent seller, someone that's lived, in an apartment for a long time, you've got to assess what's going on. Are you needing to sell because you're leaving? Are you bridging up? Do you need more space? And then you take, what they say, and then you assess the market conditions. And, what I always tell sellers in that case is, the market is, for example, it's very hot right now where your property is. I would suggest, that we come on, either a little bit above ask if there's no urgency, or a hair, below, what I deem is the correct price, and try to drive interest quickly. Usually I'm seeing people want to put their apartments on the market, at the more competitive price, because when you're bridging a family, for example, into something larger, the pain that they go through, it bless their hearts, to get everything tucked away, look like a minimalist for the open houses, it takes a village. So those are the times where I am pricing, residences competitively, to only be able to go through 2 to 3 open house cycles, to then, be done and give options to the seller, and obviously go with the option that, assumes then the least amount of risk. New development, is a very different story, in that you have to align with your developer, because there are certain numbers they have to hit, due to their respective underwriting. And, that doesn't mean it's going to go in 2 weeks. It could be on the market for, 20, 30, 40 days. And, when it starts to get up that high, to circle back to the earlier point, that's when you start to discuss maybe, concessions. But, as far as the pricing strategies in those, two schools of thought, that's, generally the approach. I try to go a little above, what a developer represents in their underwriting, to see, if we can, push the numbers a little bit, and obviously stay in line, with the inventory. And then, with, a traditional resale client, it will depend on their life trajectory.
This is awesome. So I'm going to flip the script now.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that you're talking about is something we've seen in the data, which is that the activity in Brooklyn has been rather lackluster overall. But when there is competition, days on market is absolutely minimal, and you're seeing a lot of properties trade at or over the ask. So it's super
Correct.
white hot intense when it's right, and if it's not, it's just kind of cool.
Exactly.
So I want to flip the script, and I want to talk about the buyer side, and how, if you've got a buyer and they're approaching properties in Brooklyn, how do you kind of suggest like that bidding strategy? What does that look like on the buy side in Brooklyn these days?
It's a really good question. And, I think, what is most important is, before approaching the buyer, me speaking to the listing agent. And, I'm very lucky to have, very good relationships with lots of listing agents. And, I first go to them and understand what the intent of the seller is, because I have to guide my client correctly. I have to tell them, buckle up, it's going to be a ride, or this is what they need, and they're not going to, entertain, another showing. So being able to get that information back to my client, is also extremely helpful for them. And it's displaying transparency for them, and also preparing them emotionally, because, I don't care who you are, even me, every apartment that I've bought with my husband, it's been a bidding war. And that doesn't make it any easier on me, because I'm a broker. I still want to live where I want to live. And, it can be a journey, and you've got to be ready for it. So, once I get that information, I then, circle back with my buyer, and, we assess, is this the box checker? Is this the one you want? Do we shoot the moon now, or do we do it in steps, because the broker said they're going to have to go through, 2 open houses as per the seller's wishes? So, being able to guide, the client that way is the best. I unfortunately see a lot of brokers that, don't perform that skill, and, it ends up, a client gets emotional and mad, and, then you sometimes see them 3 weeks later on their own at an open house, or with a new broker, because they've been emotionally fatigued. But, it is important to, carry that transparency to them of what to expect. And it makes the blows a little less, dramatic, and emotionally, deflating, if it gets that way.
I absolutely love this. And John, there's a consensus with these top producers that we have on this show that they all have great relationships with their community and their agents, and
Yes,
they can make a phone call and they can get intel. We call it intel here. And look, you're a
correct.
broker, you're brokering. There's a fine line between being a good
Hmm.
advisor and gathering intel and then passing
Correct.
that on to be a therapist to the client going through their
Hmm.
emotional element over here. And that
Yeah,
intel and that advisorship and those relationships makes it smoother, easier, faster. There's a reason why
yes.
deals are just easier when you're Nadia Bartolucci and you have these relationships. And we keep hearing it over and over again, John. So if you're
Nothing's
listening,
easy.
but
No.
make those relationships and get that intel. Yes, I
Correct.
hear you.
And always happy to return the favor, and you must always be willing to return the favor. That's what it's
Totally,
about.
totally agree. Now I want to talk about how you cash in favors. How do you
Mhm.
break into winning boutique new developments? Like how does that happen? Is that just a friend of a friend that's like, hey, I got a developer guy, and you're like, oh, that's a good favor. Let me go take a look at that guy. A little more complicated than that, I'm
It's
sure.
a little more complicated
Yeah.
than that. It takes years and years of grinding and proving yourself and, you know, establishing yourself in the niche that you want to focus in. And what has happened to me, with my relationships is I have been approached based on performance. And of course, there are times where someone, will call me and want me to go, walk a building, and I have to do my thing and, give, my expertise and, guidance on, where I think everything should be priced and, how to market it. But, my first project that I did, in Park Slope, many years ago before COVID, I got a phone call and it was just from someone that said, I saw something you sold around the corner and you got, a very, impressive number, can we talk? And that's kind of how it all started to, unfold for me. And, the other skill that, I also, hold close to me, which, everyone is good at something, but, I wear many hats in that, I will go in, I will advise on a floor plan, I will advise on, the direction that the project should be, designed in. And, it has bitten me in the butt a few times, but I have no regrets. I'm also very honest. And the honesty has come back to me in a very positive way, and that maybe I'm the second broker selling a project because, someone told them, oh, it's going to sell for this, paint these wall this, do this accent tile. And then I come in and they're like, oh, I'm calling you. I'm like, well, all right, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to consider doing it this way instead. And advising on staging and helping with mapping out staging and just being able to do everything, not just being the mouthpiece that says, yes, I'm going to do this and that. If I don't believe in the price and the product, it's not going to sell. And it's not an act. I have to love what I am selling and believe in it. And that has really helped me catapult my development business 100%. And also, what a lot of brokers don't do is you have to understand the lens from the developer side. Why do they need these numbers? Ask them what their underwriting projections are, ask them what their sellout projections are. You need to understand where they're coming from and why, or you are not going to be able to market the property for success.
That was awesome.
I mean, that's like a little mini masterclass. I love it. I'm almost afraid to follow up, but I will.
I'm not.
So, I mean, Nadia, you mentioned this idea of like wearing a lot of hats. And I think that's something that pretty much every agent who's out there hustling around trying to do business totally understands. But
Yes.
then you also mentioned the idea that like you've really got to go deep. You got like if you're doing new developments, you got to
Yeah.
understand it from the developer. These are not simple things that you can just like chat GPT, great, got the answer, move on to the next
No.
task. So you really have to prioritize. And for that, you kind of need some support. And I'm wondering, from your point of view, how do you become like an effective sort of team leader, coach, mentor for the people sort of working in with you or around you? Are they on the clock? Are they members of your team? Like how do you set it up? How do you run it? How do you make it work so well for you?
No, that's a great question. I keep it small and mighty. there's not a lot of us, and everyone wears a lot of hats. And the way I structure my team is, I am the team lead, and everyone can always reach me if they need me. If I'm not available, it's sleep or a mental health break to work out, or I'm with clients. But you know everyone knows what they are responsible for. We have, a team Zoom, once a week or in person. We go down our spreadsheet. If anyone has questions, it's their time to speak up, or I assume you know what you're doing. Everyone always speaks up, and there's never too many questions. I would rather be asked the same thing 3 times than have someone go and make a judgment call on their own and then have it blow up in our faces. That's, not how you get to be where our team, has got to be. And also longevity. Everyone on my team, has been working with me in some capacity, some for as long as 10 years. And, that is because we are open communicators. We believe in what we do, and we are extremely hard on each other, but fair. And everyone holds himself accountable in the same degree, and everyone is also interchangeable. If someone, like one of my team members, got stuck behind a bad car accident and just shot the team a text, I'm going to be 30 minutes late, can someone do this immediately? Not even 10 minutes. Someone's like, no problem, I'm on my way. Everyone is willing to help people, and that is our big key to success. And everyone is also well versed in the product that they are selling and the neighborhood, and also displays themselves in a really buttoned up way. And I take pride on that, because my career started a teeny tiny firm on the Upper East Side, Stribling. My desk was at the 5th floor walk up, and Libba did not allow us to wear jeans. So I take it very seriously. That presentation is everything. And that is a big part of my team and the model, and that has also brought us to new levels as well.
I have to ask, was that the Stribling office on Madison in like 73rd,
sure was.
74th?
Yes,
yeah,
it was.
I know it well.
I'd go when I lived downtown, in my apartment, in my like tenement, rental that, cost $5, because we were like trying to save to buy. I'd go all the way up there from the Lower East Side, and march all the way up my, 5 flights of stairs, and just be chained to my desk while the senior agent I was supporting at the time, was out doing her thing. And, that's, how it all began. And I wouldn't have it any other way. It was a great way to learn.
This is awesome. If anyone out there that's got teams and thinking about efficiencies and strengths and optimizing that team, I play that over again 1 or 2 times and listen to what Nadia just said over there. Because if I was a developer, that's exactly the attributes of the team I want. And that's fantastic. Great stuff right there. We're getting towards the end here, Nadia. I know we're over our limit. Hope it's okay. I have one last question, then we'll let you go into those deals. If you were to bump into your younger self, I guess 15 years ago, when you're just starting, and young Nadia, little young Nadia over here, getting going out there, knowing everything that you know now, what would you tell your younger self in terms of productivity or success? What tip would you pass on?
The tip I learned, a few years in, after I, got my bearings and understood everything, was to never say no, and to just say yes, and work very hard, and make it happen. And at the time, I made a big career shift. I was very nervous. There wasn't money coming in. It was absolutely freaking terrifying. And I would have told myself, you do believe in yourself, just go for it and don't say no. And I probably, would have encouraged my young self to push into Brooklyn even earlier than I started to. And I have no regrets. Everything is amazing now, but I would have started, my love affair with Brooklyn much sooner. If I just told myself, just say yes and figure it out, and don't take no for an answer, the day that I got my license in the mail.
I mean, I love that. And I have to follow up because it's a really interesting point. And it's one of these things where you look back and you're like, duh, but you're right. I mean, 20 years ago, like to base your business in Brooklyn was definitely risky. Certainly there were some big sales, but far and large, most of the sales were not this big. You didn't have the new development boom. Brooklyn hadn't had that huge upswing. If you look now, are there areas or pockets in and around New York City that you think might be Brooklyn of like the late 90s, early 2000s that just haven't popped yet, that are a target for maybe new? You don't have to answer. I'm just curious if you see anything similar to you, like, oh, the Bronx or something like that.
You know, what I would say is there is buzz around, pockets, certain neighborhoods in Queens, like Forest Hills, for example. It's had its, attempts at Renaissance, and it's lovely. And I even done a lot of sales up there. But there is something that Brooklyn offers that these other sub neighborhoods within the boroughs haven't quite figured out yet. And that is this great mix of community, being hip, and also offering this aha moment of relaxation and green space and wrapping it all together. And I haven't seen that develop in that specific way in these other pockets around
Interesting.
the city.
Yeah, interesting perspective. This has been awesome. This has been like food for the brain. I really appreciate your time, Nadia. I love your laugh is infectious. I love your personality. I love the positive energy. This is exactly what you need to succeed in this market. And I thank you for taking the time to share all of this with the agents and non-agents that may be watching this show. I hope you got some nuggets of wisdom from Nadia. I know I did. So thank you. Thank you to John Walkup. Thank you to Nadia Bartolucci over at Elliman. Reach out to her. Say thank you if you can. You never know if you'll do a deal with her. Other than that, this has been Noah and John at UrbanDigs and Talking Manhattan. Catch you guys next time. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.